They backed the truck in fast. The tires chewed gravel. The bumper clipped the mailbox. I stood at the doorway, arms folded over my cardigan. No one knocked. No one asked. Michael jumped out first. His baseball cap was turned backwards, like he was still 19, like this was a move-in day with a college roommate. "Mom," he called, grinning, just grabbing a few things. "Don't stress." Kayla didn't even look at me. She popped open the side panel and pointed. "That's the fridge. The one with the stainless front." She had sunglasses on indoors, clipboard in hand. They went straight to the kitchen. Drawers slammed, boxes scraped across tile. I heard the suck of the fridge being pulled away from the wall. My coffee machine gone in 2 seconds. Michael unplugged it like he was untangling Christmas lights. "The washer too," Kayla called. "That thing still works right." She didn't wait for my answer. They moved through the house like a crew with a list. Fast. Efficient. Like I wasn't even there. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Kayla turned to me briefly. "You won't need this stuff in a few years anyway, right?" She smiled like she was being generous. Michael chuckled. "Don't worry, we'll leave the basics. Couch, maybe." He winked. "We're just making space." The couch they left was the one with a spring sticking out the side. They took the recliner I sat in every night, the one with my quilt folded over the back. Outside, the truck groaned under the weight. The ramp clanked as they rolled the washer up. I could hear birds. Then I saw Mrs. Avery across the street, watching from her porch. Her iced tea stopped halfway to her mouth. I shut the door, but even through the wood I could hear Kayla laughing. She said something about old people and hoarding, and might as well upgrade the bedroom set while we're at it. I sat on the edge of the stairs. My hands were cold. They were in and out for over an hour. Didn't offer water. Didn't ask for a bag to pack the silverware. Just opened drawers, wrapped what they wanted in towels I folded yesterday. At one point, Michael carried out the painting above the fireplace. It was a cheap print. I bought it after my husband died because it reminded me of the beach trip we never got to take. Kayla squinted at it. "It'll look nice in the guest bath. Adds texture." They left my bedroom mostly intact, except for the tall mirror. And my jewelry box. When I noticed it missing, I stepped outside. The truck door slammed shut. Kayla was climbing in. Michael stood by the driver's side, texting. "I wasn't done with that," I said. My voice came out cracked. Michael looked up startled, like he'd forgotten I was still here. "Huh? My jewelry box?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "Oh, we thought you meant we could take anything." Kayla said you agreed. I hadn't. But I didn't argue. Kayla leaned over from the passenger seat. "We're setting up the new house, Inez. You'll feel better knowing your stuff's being used." Used. She said it like I was already gone. The truck backed out. I didn't wave. They didn't look back. At the gate, the brakes screeched. Something fell over in the back. They got out, opened the latch, and froze. A man in a suit stood there, Lester. He looked from the box of my dishes to me and said nothing. Just nodded once. I stepped back inside. I threw the bowl in the trash. Plastic. Bent from the microwave. The soup had burned the edge and gone cold in the middle. I chewed anyway. No fridge to store the rest. No kettle to reheat. The counter was bare, just a lone spoon and a paper towel. I didn't call the police. Didn't yell. Didn't even tell Mrs. Avery. They were my children, weren't they? I walked through the house in socks. My feet dragged. The carpet still held the imprint where the recliner used to sit. The outlet had nothing plugged in. No phone charger. No lamp. I sat on the stairs again. Same spot as before. My robe was gone. The one I used after showers worn thin at the sleeves. I checked the hallway closet 3 times. I checked the laundry hamper. They'd taken it, probably used it to wrap something breakable. Not once did I say the word stop. Not when Kayla boxed my dishes like they were hers. Not when Michael unplugged the freezer. Not when I watched them pack up the radio I'd had since '93, the one I used to clean too on Sundays. I poured water from the tap into a chipped mug. No coffee, no filter, just hot water and silence. The phone buzzed around 8. A message from Michael. Let me know if you need anything else. Moved. Love you. I stared at it for a long time. Not angry, just flat. I typed, okay, thanks. Didn't press send. Just deleted it and put the phone face down. The dining room was darker than usual. They'd taken the overhead light bulb, said it matched their fixtures. I lit a candle I found under the sink. I sat at the table, alone. Kayla had left behind her checklist, scribbled in Sharpie, crossed out lines. Fridge, washer, china set, wall art, robe, check marks beside each one. It looked like an inventory sheet for a garage sale. I held the list, folded it, slipped it in the drawer under the bills. Something inside me twitched. Not rage, not sadness, just something small and sharp. The next morning I made toast on a skillet. Ate standing up, sat on the porch. The truck never came back. I watched the sky lighten one streak at a time. My shoulders didn't ache as much. My breath stayed steady. By 10, I was back inside, moving room to room. Not to clean, to count. Everything taken, everything left. The living room couch broken. Bookshelf half full. Kitchen 2 plates, 1 fork. Bathroom towels gone, my perfume still there. Bedroom bed still made. Jewelry box still missing. I opened the hallway cabinet. Inside, an old envelope with a rubber band. Not new, not recent, but still sealed. I held it for a while. The corner had yellowed. The writing was clean in case of change. I didn't open it yet, just kept it in my hand. It felt heavier than paper. I took the pie out of the oven, still hot, crust golden. The smell filled the house like it used to. Apples, cinnamon, nutmeg. I made it every year on my birthday. No candles, no singing, just a pie and a cup of coffee. The clock read 11:30. No calls, no messages. I set the table for 1. 1 fork, 1 plate, 1 mug. I cut the pie clean. No song, no wish. Just silence. By 2, I checked my phone again. Nothing. I opened Facebook out of habit, scrolled past vacation photos and dog videos until I landed on Kayla's post. Brunch for the most amazing woman I know. Thank you for being the best mom a girl could ask for. Photos, flowers, a mimosa tower, waffles stacked like wedding cakes. Her mother smiling in every shot. Michael in the background pouring syrup. The timestamp said 10:09 a.m. They were celebrating someone else's mother while I sat here with a pie. I refreshed, read the comments. Friends tagging each other. Hearts, likes, inside jokes. I wasn't tagged. My name didn't appear anywhere. I opened the family group chat, the one labeled the Core 4. It wasn't there. I searched again. Gone. Archived or deleted or quietly erased. The silence started to feel loud. At 3:20, my phone lit up. Michael. Sorry, forgot. Hope it was a good one. Love you, Mom. No punctuation. No voice message. No emoji. Just that. I didn't reply. I stood in the kitchen for a long time. The pie was half gone. I wrapped it up, slid it into the oven just to keep it from cooling too fast. No fridge to store it anyway. I sat at the table and stared at the salt shaker. I wasn't angry, just tired. This kind of forgetting isn't an accident. It's a choice. And they'd been choosing for a while now. I went to the bedroom, opened the closet, pulled out the blue blouse I always wore for dinner out. I held it up. No smell left, no crease. I hadn't worn it in a year. I hung it back up. By sunset, I stepped outside. The wind had picked up. Neighbors were out. A birthday balloon drifted across the street, tied to a mailbox someone else's celebration. Laughter echoed down the block. I turned back inside and locked the door. In the hallway, I paused. I reached into the cabinet again, pulled the envelope out. This time I opened it. I wiped the kitchen counter. Crumbs dust grease gone in one stroke. The habit never left, even when no one was coming over. Even when the kitchen stood half empty and the fridge had been replaced with air. That morning, Kayla called. Said they left some mail at the new house. Asked if I could bring it by. I said yes. Took the bus. 40 minutes. Walked the rest. Their new place sat on a wide street, all polished drives and fake shutters. No one waved. A wreath hung on the door, even though it wasn't a holiday. The bell was digital. Kayla wasn't home. She told me over the phone to just drop it on the counter. So I let myself in. The air smelled like new paint and artificial lemon. The place looked like a catalog. White bar stools, gold-rimmed frames, rugs that hadn't been walked on. I set the mail down. Then I saw it. A note beside a fabric swatch and a furniture tag. Thanks again for the $2,800 sofa paid via her routing number. Should arrive Tuesday. Love the beige. Her handwriting, curvy, casual. Not meant for me to see. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I pulled out my phone, logged into the account I hadn't checked in weeks. The numbers dropped. Not once. Not twice. 5 transactions in 3 months, all labeled vague home goods. Transfer. ACH debit. The totals added up fast. I scrolled back. Found one labeled emergency dental. Michael had called me that day. Said he cracked a tooth, needed it pulled, asked for the password, promised he'd only use it once. The transaction was $1,900. The photo beside the charge was a hotel booking. I sat down. They'd used my name, my numbers, my savings, and they didn't even try to hide it. Not really. I walked through their living room, saw the velvet throw pillows, the wall-mounted television, the automatic blinds. The kitchen had a dual oven I never owned. My old fridge now sat in their garage. None of it looked like mine anymore. I opened a drawer to put the mail away properly. Inside, a guest list. Names, seating, Kayla's handwriting again. Next to her mother's name, honor chair. Mention her in toast. Next to mine, nothing. No seat, no note. Just blank space. I folded the list. Left it where it was. On the way out, I paused. I looked back once. Then I shut the door and walked home. That night, I lit the stove, boiled water, burned toast, and opened the file cabinet. I unlocked the file drawer. The metal clinked sharp. Bottom cabinet far back, where the dust settled thickest. I hadn't opened it in years. Folders fell sideways. Receipts curled at the edges. I dug past warranties, tax records, a church program from 2012. Then I saw the envelope. Yellowed, heavy, no label. Just my name in thick black ink. I slid it out, tore the seal. Inside, 3 things. The house deed dated 1997. My name alone. No second party, no co-owner. The second, a power of attorney form unsigned, meant for medical use, never filed. The third, a business card. Lester Kavanaugh, probate real estate elder law. A number I didn't recognize anymore, but the name I'd never forgotten. He was my supervisor once. Years ago. Back when I balanced accounts and ran payroll for small contractors. He always wore pressed shirts and talked slow like nothing could surprise him. When my husband died, Lester offered to help with the paperwork. I never called. Thought I could handle it myself. I pressed the card flat. I walked to the dresser, pulled out the top drawer. A small key sat tucked under a pair of old socks. It had a red plastic tag, safe. I'd forgotten it existed. The safe box was at the old credit union 2 towns over. I'd opened it after my husband passed, stored things I didn't want in the house. Then I stopped going, stopped needing to remember. But now I did. I packed a small bag, documents, Keys. Notebook. Left the house just past noon. The bus ride was quiet. I watched trees blur past, watched families in backyards I didn't recognize. At the bank, I waited in line, signed the forms, answered the questions. They led me to the vault. The air felt colder inside. Box 314, still there. The lock turned slow. The drawer slid open. Inside, everything was still wrapped in a hand towel, my handwriting on a folded paper legal keep intact. More papers, originals, letters. One small black USB stick in a bag labeled Copy of Trust Draft 2007. I didn't remember writing that. But there it was. I checked the pages. Lester's letterhead stamped in the corner. My name. The house. A directive. Hold all property until revocation or death of named individual. Transfer on death beneficiary none. It meant if I died, no one got the house unless I named them. And I hadn't. I left the bank with everything in a brown folder. It rained lightly on the way home. By the time I stepped inside, the house smelled damp. I turned on the one lamp they hadn't taken, sat at the kitchen table, laid out each page, one by one. Then I picked up the phone and dialed the number on the card. I wiped the high chair tray twice. The baby had already been put to bed. The mashed carrots were dry. A spoon stuck to the plastic. Kayla shouted from the dining room. "Just clean up whatever's left, Mom. We'll handle dessert." I nodded, though no one was looking. They'd invited me for dinner. Or that's how Michael phrased it on the phone. "Swing by around 6. Kayla's cooking. It'll be good." I'd put on my dark slacks, a clean blouse. I even brought a bottle of wine I'd been saving since last Thanksgiving. But when I walked in, Kayla handed me the baby and pointed to the kitchen. "Just for a bit. We've got people coming." No seat was set for me at the table. No extra plate. No napkin. The clients arrived 5 minutes later. A couple in pressed shirts, one with a Bluetooth still in his ear. Kayla gushed about the layout of the house, the renovation ideas, the back deck. Michael opened a laptop and started showing photos. I stood behind the kitchen island, sponge in hand, scrubbing a casserole dish. "They'll love this place," the man said. "Good bones. Solid foundation." "Oh, it's not for sale," Kayla replied. "Not yet. But we're thinking of turning the original one, his mom's place, into an Airbnb." Michael laughed. "It's just sitting there. We figure why not make it work for us?" They all laughed. I didn't move. He kept talking. "It's got charm, you know, that old lady vintage kind. Might just need to move some of her things out." Kayla added. "Already started, actually." My hands stayed underwater. I dried the dish, stacked it, rinsed the baby's sippy cup, and put it away. No one offered me a seat. I stood at the edge of the room, watching them toast. "Here's to turning dead space into something useful," the man said, lifting his glass. Michael raised his, "to making things count." They clinked. Kayla winked. I stood still. At 9, the couple left. Kayla waved from the doorway. Michael turned back and stretched. "You good, Mom?" he asked. Half yawned. "Need a ride home?" I shook my head. "Bus is fine." He nodded already, walking away. I picked up my bag. The bottle of wine I brought was still unopened on the counter. I left it there. On the way out, I paused by the table. One of the papers they'd shown the guests was still open, an estimate sheet. Airbnb listing price, $195 night. Homeowner name, Michael Trent. They'd typed his name over mine. I folded the page, took it with me. The bus stop was empty. A car honked down the street. I clutched the paper in my coat pocket the whole way home. I picked up Kayla's purse. It had fallen beside the crib. The baby had kicked it down during a diaper change, and Kayla had rushed out without noticing. I called her name, but she was already out the door. I set the purse on the couch, but the flap hung open. The corner of a postcard stuck out shiny, thick branded. I pulled it free. Evan Klein Realtor, Historic Homes Cash Buyers. Welcome. Below a note in Kayla's handwriting, Zillow 415K. Potential flip. Interior upgrades already underway. No address listed. But I didn't need one. It was my house. I held the card for a long moment. Then I tucked it back where I found it. By the time Kayla returned, the baby was asleep and the dishes were dry. She dropped her keys on the counter, kicked off her heels. God, what a day. I smiled. Coffee. She waved her hand. No need to make a fuss. She sat on the armrest of the couch, scrolled through her phone, said something about paint colors and new light fixtures. I poured myself half a cup, sat across from her. Said nothing. She talked about market value, about making the most of what we have. She used the word opportunity like it was a coupon. I nodded, sipped slowly. Then she said, Michael and I think the best thing for everyone is to simplify. Less clutter, less responsibility. You know I nodded again. Simpler is better. Her eyes lit up. She mistook that for agreement. She pulled out her phone and started showing me mock-ups. If we change the exterior paint, it'll boost curb appeal. Might even break 450. I watched her swipe through filters of my porch painted blue, my shutters replaced with faux wood. Even the garden I kept was gone, replaced with gravel. No photo had me in it. When she left, she gave me a side hug. Thanks for helping today. I closed the door behind her and locked it. Then I turned off the porch light, walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer with my legal pad. I wrote 3 words in block letters. They're circling now. Then I picked up the phone and called Lester again. I stepped into Lester's office and closed the door behind me. The same ticking wall clock. Same dull carpet. Same faint smell of old paper and floor wax. He looked up from a stack of folders. His eyes met mine without surprise. I've been expecting this. He didn't offer condolences or pleasantries, just pulled out a yellow folder from the drawer and slid it across the desk. Still intact, he said. Still in your name. I sat down. My hands rested on the edge of the desk. He opened the folder, spread out the pages one by one. Here's the transfer on death clause, he said, tapping the line that named no beneficiary. You never assigned one, which means it dies with you. Until then, it's yours. Entirely. He laid down the second paper. This is the hold until notarized clause. It means no power of attorney activates unless it's filed with full certification. Yours isn't. I nodded. He slid the third across. Confidential override authority. Signed in 2012. You instructed that any action taken under your name without direct verbal consent is void. You remember doing that. I do now. Lester leaned back. He didn't speak for a moment. I can file enforcement today, he said finally. We can block cohabitation rights, reassert deed control, serve notice. But once it starts, there's no going back. I looked at the signature line. Blank. Clean. No, I said. Not yet. He didn't question me. Instead, he asked, Do you want to update your executor? No, I said again. Let it stand. He nodded once and began to gather the documents. I stood, smoothed the wrinkles in my coat. At the door, he stopped me. Inez. If you change your mind, I won't, I said. Not yet. I stepped outside. The sky had darkened, but the air felt warmer. On the ride home, I watched the trees bend in the wind. Not break, just bend. I unlocked my front door, walked to the kitchen, and wrote one more word under the last note. Wait. I picked up a can of beans, turned it twice in my hand, checked the price, reached for another. A voice behind me lowered to a whisper. Inez, I turned. Denise Caldwell. We'd worked together 12 years ago, back when ledgers were still handwritten, and my knees didn't creak. She looked me over, hesitated, then leaned closer. I saw your washer on Craigslist. I said nothing. She continued, voice barely above the hum of the freezer behind us. The ad said, from elderly client barely used. Same brand, same model. the scratch on the corners even in the photo. Still, I didn't speak. She shifted. I wasn't sure if I should tell you. I nodded. Thank you. That was it. She smiled unsure and rolled her cart away. I walked to the checkout with 2 cans and a loaf of bread. At home, I sat at the kitchen table, opened the drawer, pulled out the yellow pad, flipped past the notes, found the right page, wrote a new line. Craigslist. Denise C. Witness. Then I circled the words. I made coffee, sat by the window. The light outside was thin, like it couldn't decide whether to leave or stay. I thought about the washer, about Kayla wrapping it in my old robe, laughing. I thought about the ad, about someone scrolling through listings, seeing that phrase elderly client barely used and clicking add to cart, like I was furniture. I flipped the page and listed every item I could remember. Fridge, washer, recliner, jewelry box, radio, coffee machine, TV, quilt. I paused. Wedding ring. I underlined it. Then I turned to the final page. At the top, I wrote one word, trigger, and left the rest blank. I tore the envelope open fast. It came in Friday's mail. Thick paper, heavy font, pre-approval enclosed. I almost tossed it thinking it was junk. Then I saw my name. Inez Morel, cosigner. Loan amount $40,000. I froze. Read it twice. The lender's note was cheerful. Said the loan would help the young couple move forward with plans. Said they appreciated the confidence shown by the cosigner. I hadn't signed a thing. I called Lester before the kettle even boiled. He answered on the second ring. Bring it in, he said. An hour later, we sat at his desk. He held the paper under a small lamp, squinting at the signature line. Not yours, he said. The pen pressure's wrong. Slant is off. Spelling's correct, but it's rehearsed. I didn't speak. He flipped the page. Cross-checked it with my previous documents. They traced it from an old check, he said. Probably one you left lying around. He leaned back. Let out a slow breath. You want to press charges? I shook my head. Not yet. You want to freeze the application? No. He waited. Then I said, let it sit. Let them think it worked. His eyes narrowed, not in disapproval, just recalculating. You're sure I am? He nodded once, then tucked the letter into a new file marked TR-Z4. Anything else, he asked. I handed him the list. The one with the stolen items, witnesses, dates, the word trigger written at the top. He flipped through it slowly. You've been keeping track. I don't forget, I said. He tapped the pad. Then neither will I. I stood, thanked him, walked out. The air outside felt sharper. The wind had turned. On the way home, I passed a house for sale. The sign had just flipped to under contract. A family stood on the porch holding hands, grinning for a photo. I kept walking. At home, I made toast, brewed coffee, sat by the window. Then I wrote one more word under trigger. Soon. I signed twice. Once on the power of ownership assertion. Once on the emergency override. Lester didn't flinch. He laid out each document with precision. No commentary, just facts. This one confirms sole title control, he said. Reasserts that the property belongs to you without pending transfer or shared claim. I signed it. He slid the second page forward. This one revokes any verbal or implied cohabitation rights. No one relative or otherwise has legal claim to stay on or operate from your property. Immediate effect if activated. I signed that too. Then I leaned back. He gathered the papers slowly, stacked them, clipped the corners, filed them into a red folder marked Active Hold Status. Do you want to send notice? He asked. I shook my head. Not yet. He nodded. We'll wait. The silence between us sat heavy. He folded his hands. This gives you everything. Quiet authority. No noise unless you want it. Good, I said. He leaned back. They think they're clever. I said nothing. He continued. They've spent money in your name, moved things out of your home, And now they've forged a loan under your signature. I know. He tilted his head. You've given them a long leash. I met his eyes. And I'll decide when to pull it. He didn't smile, just nodded again. I left with copies, tucked them into my bag. No one saw me walk out. At home, I poured coffee into the mug I still used daily, the one Kayla didn't want, the one with the chipped rim and faded writing that said, "Nice try." I didn't clean the kitchen, didn't sweep. Instead, I sat at the table and rewrote the list on fresh paper. This time, I numbered the items, labeled every withdrawal, every missing object, every insult. And then I wrote the words, "No more warnings." I folded the paper in half and slipped it inside the same envelope where I kept the forged loan notice. Then I reached for the second envelope marked Trigger. I added a name to it, just one. No address, no phone number, just the name of the notary I'd met years ago. Then I called her. The phone rang twice. Kayla's name blinked on the screen. I answered without a word. Her voice came bright casual. "You still have that old bedroom set in the basement, right?" I kept my tone flat. "Yes." She didn't ask if I used it, didn't ask if I still wanted it. "We were thinking of using it for the guest room," she said. "Save a little money." "That okay?" I waited a beat, then said, "Take whatever you need." She thanked me like I was offering leftovers. Said they'd swing by in the afternoon. After she hung up, I went down the basement steps, slow, one hand on the rail. The set was still wrapped in an old sheet. Mahogany, polished, barely scratched. The kind people used to save for their first real home. I pulled off the sheet, ran my fingers along the edge of the drawer. The surface still smooth, still cool. I went back upstairs, opened the drawer under the phone and took out the tracking device. Size of a coin. Lester gave it to me 6 years ago, back when I thought I might start selling antiques. I never used it. Until now. I slid the drawer open, pressed the tag under the corner rail and locked it in place. Quiet. Firm. Then I dusted the headboard, folded the sheet again, and turned off the light. By 3, Kayla arrived. She didn't come inside. Michael stayed in the truck. She waved from the top of the steps. "We'll carry it. Don't worry." I stood at the door, watched them load piece by piece. No thanks. No small talk. They didn't ask if I needed help with anything. Kayla smiled once. "You really didn't need all this anymore, right?" I just nodded. She took that as yes. When they drove off, I walked to the kitchen, opened the drawer where I kept my pad, crossed off bedroom set, released. Wrote beneath it, tracker activated. Then I sat down, took a sip of cold coffee, and waited. I emptied the trash for the 3rd time. Plastic cups, greasy napkins, half-eaten burgers. I tied the bag tight, replaced it with a fresh liner, and wiped down the lid. Voices spilled out from the backyard, laughter, clinking bottles, music turned up just loud enough to drown out anything personal. They'd chosen my house for the BBQ, said the yard was cozy, said it made sense to host here since I wasn't using it much anyway. I didn't ask questions, just unlocked the gate and made sure the hose was rolled up. Kayla stood near the patio table, drink in hand, eyes on the crowd. Michael hovered near the grill, flipping steaks he didn't season. His college friend blasted music from a Bluetooth speaker like we were back in a dorm. Then Kayla raised her voice. "Everyone," she said. Lifting her glass just before we eat, "I want to say a few words." The music dropped. She smiled wide, bright enough for the phones filming her. "I want to dedicate today to the woman who made all this possible, my mom." Cheers. Applause. A few people clapped, even before she finished the sentence. "She's the reason we're standing here, with this future, this house, this life." More clapping. People raised plastic cups. I stood at the edge of the patio near the garbage can. Someone handed me a used plate. I took it. Kayla's mother stepped forward, hugged her, posed for pictures. Michael kissed her cheek and mouthed something about finally feeling like a homeowner. No one looked my way, not even my son. I walked back inside, pushed the plate into the trash, washed my hands at the sink. Through the window, I could see them taking group photos on my grass. I grabbed a notepad from the drawer, flipped past the list of missing items, the loan notice, the forged signature. I started a new page, wrote one sentence. They threw a party on my porch and forgot I built the door. I closed the pad, went to the hall closet, pulled out the small box Lester had given me last year, marked for notary use. Then I placed it next to the fridge and waited for the music to stop. Michael dropped the bag by the hallway. A duffel. Heavy. Worn. Zipper half open. He didn't ask. Just looked around like he was already home. Kayla followed behind, holding a folder. "We talked it over," she said. "It just makes sense. You have the space. We need the time." Michael grinned. "We're staying a while. Maybe full time. You okay with that?" I nodded. "Of course." Kayla handed me the folder. "This has a few retirement brochures. No pressure, obviously, just something to think about." I flipped through. Soft pastels, smiling old women holding bingo cards. One page said, "Memory care for independent spirits." I looked up. These look nice. Kayla lit up. "Right. And some even let you keep a pet." Michael wrapped his arm around her waist. "We'll help you tour a few. Maybe next week." I smiled. That would be great. They didn't notice how still I stood. Later that night, they took the guest room. Kayla unpacked like she owned it. Michael asked if the mattress had always been that soft. I sat in the kitchen, lights off, listening to their footsteps above. Then I pulled the last envelope from the drawer. Thick, marked in red trigger. Final. I opened it. Double-checked every page. The notarized override. The security camera footage from the bedroom set pickup. The withdrawal logs. The Craigslist printouts. The forged loan document. The deed. All signed, all stamped. All mine. I sealed the envelope. Labeled it in block letters, "Deliver 9 a.m." Then I wrote one more name on the list. Not Kayla, not Michael, just witness. I made coffee, sat at the table, and waited for morning. I opened the door at exactly 11:00. The notary stepped in first. Neutral suit, clipboard in hand. Said her name once and nothing more. Behind her, Lester entered. Quietly, nodded to me, then stood near the fireplace. Last came Denise with her phone, her purse, and the camera lens sticking out the top. I'd told them all the same thing. "It's just a family picture. We won't need long." Kayla greeted them at the door like she was the hostess. "Oh, friends of Inez's. How nice of you to come." She didn't even wait for names. The living room buzzed. Kayla's friends were already there. Wine poured, shoes off. She stood by the mantel, showing them the crown molding she'd planned to repaint. Michael leaned on the arm of the couch, sipping something from one of my mugs. I waited until everyone was in the room. I clinked a glass twice. The room stilled. Kayla turned. "Mom, you ready for the picture?" I nodded. "One moment." I stepped forward, held a manila envelope in both hands. "The deed's been updated," I said. "The house is no longer part of this family. No one moved." Kayla blinked. Lester stepped up beside me. He pulled out the papers, laid them on the table one by one. The notary followed. Denise lifted her camera. "Legal transfer," Lester said flatly. "Reinstatement of sole ownership. Immediate effect. Filed and time-stamped. Witnessed." Kayla's voice cracked. "Wait, what are you talking about?" Michael stood. "Is this a joke?" I didn't answer either of them. I turned toward Denise. "Did you get all that?" She nodded once. Snapped the last photo. Kayla stepped forward. "You can't just, this is our house." "No," I said. "It's mine. It always was." Gasps. One of Kayla's friends put her wine down slowly. Lester closed the folder. The notary packed her clipboard. Denise stopped filming. Michael stared at the floor. Kayla's face twisted. This is insane. No, I said again. This is finished. I turned, walked to the kitchen, and poured the last of the coffee. I changed the locks before sunrise. The locksmith didn't ask questions, didn't flinch at the stack of forms I handed him. Clause 4C printed in bold. Emergency revocation of cohabitation rights. Filed. Certified. Delivered. By 7, the key in my pocket was the only one left that worked. By 8, I taped the notice to the front gate. To whom it may concern, all rights of access have been revoked under Clause 4C. This property is no longer available for entry, occupancy, or negotiation by unauthorized persons. Simple, direct, legal. I poured coffee, sat by the window. The sun edged over the trees. At 8:42, their car pulled up, tires too fast on gravel. Michael climbed out first, slammed the door. Kayla followed, already shouting. They reached the gate, read the paper, then looked at each other like they'd misread it. Michael shook the latch. Locked. He banged once hard. Kayla cupped her hands around her mouth. Inez, open up. This is ridiculous. I sipped my coffee. They tried the back gate. Locked too. They circled the house once like wolves that didn't realize the hunt was over. Michael called my phone. It rang on the counter. Kayla shouted again. You can't just throw us out. Her voice cracked on the word throw. Michael kicked the front step. I didn't move. Eventually, they sat on the hood of the car, waiting, whispering, checking their phones. Kayla tried the notary's number, probably thinking it was a mistake. She cursed and hung up. By noon, they left. No slamming doors this time, just silence. I stood, pulled down the notice from the gate, walked inside and locked the door. I dialed the number before breakfast. Fraud department. Pressed 2 for identity theft. Waited on hold. Gave my name, date of birth, account number. Spoke clearly, firmly. No tremble. I listed the transactions, quoted the loan number, read off the date of the forged signature. Then I emailed the scanned documents, deed notarized override legal statement from Lester. The woman on the line paused when I finished. We'll escalate this immediately, she said. I thanked her and hung up. By noon, Kayla's phone started lighting up. I watched from the window as she stepped out of their car across the street, still refusing to look at the house. She answered the call, pressed it to her ear, and froze. Her jaw locked. Her voice rose. What do you mean, closed? That card paid for our floors. She paced the sidewalk, shoes scraping against the curb. She hung up, dialed again. This time louder. More words I couldn't hear, but the tone said everything. Michael came around from the driver's side. She shoved the phone at him. Fix it. Fix this. He blinked. Fix what? They froze my credit, she snapped. They reversed the transfer. He scrolled. Read. Stared like it was in a language he didn't know. Her voice cracked. That sofa gone. That deposit for the remodel gone. He didn't answer. She grabbed her keys and slammed the car door, then opened it again, slammed it twice more for good measure. Michael stood there, phone in hand, mouth open, but silent. Kayla turned toward the house, eyes locked on the front window. She didn't scream this time. She just stood there, breathing hard, holding a wallet filled with cards that no longer worked. Then she got in the car and drove off without him. Michael stayed. For a long time. But he never rang the bell. Never knocked. Just sat on the curb, staring at his phone like it might hand him a solution. I turned the key and stepped inside. The guest house behind Lester's place was small, 4 rooms, 1 floor, no attic. Clean, empty, quiet. I carried in 1 box, a chair, a mug, 2 plates, my file folder, no rugs, no art, no clutter. I set the chair by the window, placed the mug on the sill, sat down. The vinyl floors didn't creak. The walls didn't echo. No one stomped above me. No one asked what I was making for dinner. I brewed coffee on the small stovetop, drank it standing up. No coaster, no tray, just steam and breath and stillness. Lester came by once in the afternoon, left an envelope at the door. No knock. Inside copies of the final filings. A typed note. One line all tied off. Nothing left hanging. I folded it, placed it under the mug. That night, I didn't leave a light on, didn't lock the inner door. I lay on the mattress with the window cracked just enough to hear the wind shift. No voices, no footsteps, no phone buzzing after midnight. I didn't dream, I just slept. Straight through. The phone rang once, then again. I let it buzz 5 times before answering. Michael's voice came low, like he hadn't spoken in hours. Mom. I waited. We're struggling, he said. Everything's gone sideways. She's not sleeping. I lost the deposit on the new place. Credits shot. She blames me. I didn't say anything. He kept talking. I know we messed up. I know we took too much, but it was never meant to hurt you. We were just trying to build something. I listened. Not cold. Just still. I don't know what to do, he said. I thought maybe you could help. I breathed in, then said, I'm not angry. He didn't respond. I'm just not available, I added. Silence. He let out a shaky breath. I get it. I nodded, though he couldn't see. Take care of yourself, Michael. Then I hung up. No shaking hand. No second thoughts. I stood, poured the last of the coffee into the sink and rinsed the mug. Placed it upside down to dry. The sky outside was gray, but not heavy. I sat in the chair. Watched a leaf tumble across the gravel path behind the window. The phone didn't ring again. I flipped the burner on. The flame caught with a soft click. The percolator hissed. Steam curled and tapped the underside of the cabinet. I stood still, listening. No truck outside. No doors slamming. No voice calling from the driveway. Just the heat, the gurgle, and the soft breath of morning light pushing through the blinds. I reached up, opened the cabinet. One mug. Chipped on the handle. White with faded blue lettering. Still mine. I poured slow. No rush. No measuring spoon. Just what felt right. Carried it to the window. Sat in the chair. The yard beyond Lester's fence was quiet. Grass low. Sky clean. Wind moved only one branch at a time. I held the mug close. Not because it was cold. Not because I needed comfort. Because it was mine. Not borrowed. Not shared. Not taken. Mine. I sipped. Bitter. No sugar. I didn't mind. The clock ticked once. Then again. Somewhere a bird called out and got no answer. I leaned back, let my hand rest on the warm ceramic rim. The stove clicked off behind me, and I didn't move.